Are we streaming everywhere? I think we're streaming. Welcome. Gonna try to do another Tuco Flyer thing. Working on software, some firmware, some Rust, some petting the cat. So we are live on on Twitch, on YouTube, and on an experimental self-hosting service now. Or self-hosted. Good afternoon, good evening. Hello. Also nice to see everyone around. Nice to see Kate. I haven't seen you in a while. Hello, Dean. Hello, James. Hello, Fred. Surprise stream. Yeah, I'm trying to make them less of a surprise. I'm still pretty bad at actually keeping to the schedule, but yeah, I want to try to just do more regular stuff, especially on Tuco Flyer. Speaking of Tuco. I took this little guy to the vet this morning, and he's fine. He had to do a yearly checkup, but also seemed like his paw was bugging him, and it was just one of his nails got kind of long, and it seemed like it was uncomfortable, and so they took care of that while I was in there. It was nice. I didn't have to be bad cop this time. Yeah, the freezer's huge. Yeah, I'm trying to rearrange the shop a little bit. There's been just a lot going on as far as, which camera is it? Just trying to actually reorganize things in here slightly. I was just testing these cameras, and now of course I forgot which one I have mapped to which buttons. Oh, there we go. Yeah, okay, this one's a little bit laggy, but this is the overhead view. So there's the giant mess pile over here. Yeah, some of that is organized, some of it is not. It's still a work in progress. A lot of the stuff I've been working on lately has been inside that new, smaller equipment rack, which is now sitting next to the whiteboard. So a lot of temporary network cabling, but now that I know where some of the things are going, and I might actually have enough cable, I can start to put in some less temporary network cabling. One of the things I'm doing is I want to actually move the equipment closer to where the power is, because I'm just tired of running like most of a kilowatt over an extension cord every time I stream. So yeah, and then having this new smaller rack for the PeerTube server and for the network equipment, I wanted that near some reliable power also. And then my friend had this freezer they wanted to put here too, so like yeah, just trying to find room for all the pieces, and I think I might end up putting a lot of these sort of more storage stuff here closer to the windows here, because there actually is not good electricity in this area. And then maybe move this kind of filming-centric contraption closer to that corner. And also just try to make it easier to move the filming around a little bit, because I feel like it's easy to get myself kind of backed into a corner where I've got to like move a million wires if I want to actually film anywhere that isn't where I usually film. So I want to try to make less of that, and it's always been my intention to have this thing be pretty modular, and now I know a lot more about how I actually want to use it, so I can do some more of that. Sorry to hear your dog's not doing so well, James. Let's pet Tuco for a little bit. He seems to be into it. Cat ribs. Yeah, I was doing a bunch of things to the network. Some of it was trying to physically make it less of a mess and just have more things on a central managed switch instead of spread out. I was also actually segmenting the network further into a couple more VLANs, which was nice. I already had one VLAN just for like a guest Wi-Fi, and now I have some additional VLANs for like some of the internet connected stuff, like the Internet of Things. Those are all good to have a separate network for. A couple new networks for that kind of thing. And then one of those networks was actually for the IP cameras. So this overhead camera that I was just switching to, I was debugging that right before the stream because I forgot to allow UDP routing to and from that network, which I was having trouble actually getting OBS to do video without UDP, so it seemed like a worthy addition to the firewall rules. So yeah, Tuco Flyer continues to be pretty alright as far as manual control, but it's missing a lot of the features we would need to make it more automatic. And it's hard to move it slowly and smoothly right now, which is one of the things that this firmware change is going to lead toward a fix for. It won't be a fix for it on its own, but it's something we need. Is he purring? Not really. It's okay. Alright, well, I think last time we were working on this, we had a firmware change pretty much ready to deploy to one of the winches. And the state was we could deploy that firmware change. That winch would then be speaking a version of the protocol that's incompatible with the current Rust software. So it would then be an opportunity to fix that. And then we could get that single winch working, and then we would have to fix the other 3 winches before the whole robot would be working again. So yeah, maybe perhaps, oh, there's not much Tuco petting to do. I got this Raspberry Pi ready to do the upgrade work with. It's on a long wire with a power over Ethernet adapter. Because the Wi-Fi here is not amazingly reliable. Sometimes it works, but... Oh, did I just reset my Raspberry by wiggling the power connector? Yeah. There is a new power over Ethernet shield you can get for the Raspberry. I don't have any of those here, but I have a couple of these adapters. But yeah, I think the idea is I can just walk around with this and upgrade the firmware. Alright, and then we have the Rust code, which we haven't worked on in a little while. Let's get that handy and see what we have to change. That's user interface stuff. Oh, that was probably the file we wanted. Alright, let's also get the corresponding change. I think I already checked it in. Do I have... I did change the DNS on this machine. I did. Cool. Got local GitHub mirrors, which are sometimes useful. So yeah, this just changes the structure for this winch deadband, which is part of the command that we send to the winch. It also becomes part of the response because the response embeds the last command the winch received. So these two messages changed. There's no separate version. The version is just implied by the command ID, so I'm just bumping the command IDs to something available. So that's already checked in. We would need to make a corresponding change over here. Yeah, maybe it would be fun to actually do the change in Rust first, and then break all the winches, and then gradually get them back online. Because it seems like while Tuco's napping, we might not need to move the robot that much. Oh, so that GetT thing, that's a host on my local network. That is not a globally routable domain. And the dot at the end is just to force it to be in the kind of root namespace rather than in any of the namespaces in your host's search list. Which also has the side effect of making the web browser typically treated as actually a domain name and not a search term. But yeah, no, that's a local mirror of a bunch of GitHub stuff. I can show you again if you want. Yeah, I've been enjoying running local services on the network now that I have a little Linux box here to do that on. And yeah, it's just like for you know, me and anybody else on the local network, just create accounts, and I've just been using it to keep copies of everything that I have on GitHub. And it has a nice mirroring feature so that you can automatically, you know, tell it to create a repository that's a mirror of some upstream, and it'll sync it every 8 hours or so. I also have Grafana set up that way, although I don't think I have a login on this machine. Yeah. All right. How do I want to notate this? I think we want to. I'm sure there's a rabbit hole we could go into in like going deep into the Rust meta to try to automatically generate more of this. But right now I'm just kind of happy to continue the same pattern that we've got here, at least for the near future. So I might just have a comment that mentions these commands we're deprecating. So something like that. And then the actual change is really just changing this position and velocity to a center and width for each. Oh, that was in messages. Yeah, so same change there. Position, velocity, this is int, that's float. That's all internal. So if we compile this, assuming nothing breaks because it referred to those values, which I'm sure something is breaking because it referred to those values, I think I know where that is already, but we could also let the compiler tell us what to change, which would also just verify we've got the build environment set up properly. Just checking how I had this set up to run. Yeah, so I've got a release build here that I've been running. I think for a while I was having this problem with debug builds actually being too slow to work at all. But yeah, even devel builds are optimized in my setup right now, so I think we can do a devel build. Just kill the bot server right now, but keep that handy in case we want to go back to this previous build. So, is that going to do it? Is this going to tell me? Oh yeah, Michael's wondering if this runs on like a Linux box that talks to the individual microcontrollers. Kinda, except it's like a big honkin' Windows machine. But yeah, it's like a PC in the rack that talks to all the microcontrollers. It could run anywhere really, it's just it happens to run on the same machine that I do the streaming from. Because that's where I have the GPU and the video capture card. But yeah, it could run elsewhere. It needs some CPU power for the robot. A lot more for the computer vision. So, yeah, so this is the part of the winch controller that's actually building that packet, that winch deadband structure as it gets sent out to the winches. So yeah, it's complaining that it's trying to fill in this field now that doesn't exist. So we have to change that to be this new hysteresis format. And yeah, the microcontrollers all have Ethernet. Part of the reason I chose the particular microcontroller I'm using for this project is that it has built-in 100 base T Ethernet. Oh, I think the gimbal's drifting now that the controller's not running. Yeah, I should keep the release build handy and run it in between tests here. There's my release build. Oh, is it halted? Yeah. This joystick should really unhalt, but it doesn't currently unhalt. It's fine. Okay, so that's winch.rs. Welcome to Rust. If you haven't programmed in this, it's a language that I recommend if you're a fan of any kind of systems programming, whether it's like operating systems or games or anything where you want to be somewhat closer to the metal than, say, like JavaScript or even Go. But it's a lot nicer than C or C++. There's still some things I end up using C++ for, but Rust is nice, and there are starting to be more reasons to use that rather than something like C++. Yeah. think this was a hack. See, because we can change the parameters for the firmware on every single control loop tick, which is kind of nice. The firmware is not stateful, except for like really basic things like the IP address. It mostly gets all of its parameters continuously from the controller. So it can do workarounds like this where it was trying to disable the deadband while it was moving. I don't think this is a good idea though. I think the hysteresis is strictly better than this hack. So, yeah, I mean, it is basically industrial Ethernet. I mean, it isn't something special. It's, you know, it's the same kind of chip that you would find in a lot of like industrial controllers probably, but it's just Ethernet. The protocol isn't even, is it UDP? I forget. Did I make it UDP or TCP? I think it's just UDP. I think I disabled the TCP support in LWIP while I was at it. Why is this stuck at the top of the screen? Because yeah, I wanted something packetized already, so TCP wasn't even helpful in this case. Anyway, yeah, I think I want to disable that particular hack. Because I think that was one way to help prevent some of the oscillations, but I think the hysteresis actually just makes that whole thing better. So I think we can remove this has non-zero velocity command thing too. Is that public? Oh, no, the structure's public, but yeah, nobody outside this file can even see this member, so that's just for the hack. Let's remove that. Alright. So this is just going to be unit conversion at this point. Did I do that right in the firmware? I'm momentarily wondering if I actually did the half width or the width. Oh, I did the width. Cool. Half width on each side. Yeah, because we talked about that because it means that effectively the least significant bit of this position error width is not used, but I think that's fine. I was thinking about the units here. I think the config file wants these to be float, and then I convert them from the calibrated meters when I generate this packet. And so what is the corresponding config change? Like, we can introduce more logic here if we want to, but right now it's going to be a straightforward mapping from the config file to the firmware. Hey there, stream fans. Oh, Tuco is stretching. There's all that weird vertical oscillation in the gimbal. It's like a lot of these things, kind of a weird interaction between components. Like, that's actually an interaction between the gimbal tracking algorithm and the computer vision, causing it to go up and down like that. I can just manually halt it. I would also stop doing that if I backed up slightly. I'm just gonna rename this to be the deadband positioner, like hysteresis width, or just hysteresis. Yeah. As soon as I change the config file, it stops being compatible. It is very picky about the config file format right now, which is something that I'll probably need to change at some point. But yeah, I will not be able to restart the previous release build after I change this. In fact, I should kill the release build, otherwise it'll actually overwrite the config file when I try to change it. Alright, so the gimbal is going to start drifting as of now. Okay, we can tune those dynamically. Let's see if that compiles. Let's go right to run if it builds. Yeah, I know the field names are long. It's a config file. I wanted it to be verbose. There's really no benefit to them being short. Oh yeah, I forgot to change this piece, but then we should be good. Yes, and these are all already in the right notation. What was that for? 247. That should use the worst deadband, I think. Maybe that should use the center. I think that can use the center. That's for a particular kind of error detection where if the motor's running, or sorry, if the motor's off and we're outside the deadband. In this case, the motor would be off because the firmware presumably cut the power for some other reason, like it detected it was stuck. So yeah, this is like a second or third error problem that happens at this point, or second or third order. Oh yeah, you might have seen it if you saw the announcement bot, but there should be a an experimental live stream here. Machine's bogging down a little bit right now because I'm compiling on the streaming machine. But yeah, you can get to a stream here without going through YouTube or Twitch if you like. We are compiling and the gimbal is drifting. the gimbal drifts when it doesn't have the bot server running, because normally I'm applying a continuous correction to the gimbal position using the computer vision, as well as using an adjustable compensation for the gyro drift. Oh, actually, the gyro compensation is closed loop now, so it's fundamentally based on the computer vision. The computer vision uses either Tuco or some reference point, and then it slowly either uses that, or depending on the mode, it either uses like computer vision or a particular angle relative to the body of the robot, depending on which mode it's in. Yes. Was that a temporary? Oh, I need to change the IP address this writes metrics to. Okay. Anyway, I think this is working. Yeah, this is still connecting to my old metric server. For a while I had a TCP forward that forwarded the connections to the new metric server, but I finally took that out. So now we got no more errors. Okay, so as far as the server is concerned now, it's running, but all the winches are just failing to communicate. So I think we can verify that. Why are we having trouble stabilizing? I think the OBS plugin hung. It's like we lost the computer vision. Let's restart that. I've had that happen before. I don't know where the bug is, but something's failing when, during some circumstances where the bot controller shuts down and the OBS plugin is still running, it fails to reconnect when the bot server comes back. It's not every time that happens. Usually it works. There's something specific that causes it to sometimes not work. Is OBS starting yet? That's better. Okay, so we have communication with the gimbal. Nothing from the winches. Cool. So I think what we want to do now is to try loading the new firmware on one of the winches. Let's do the one that's closest, and then see if that actually shows up. Alright, SSH into this bready little boy. Okay, we already made our changes and built our binary. That Tuco Flyer.bin is what we want to load. LM4 flash is the tool. So I'm gonna get a cable. I think the most annoying part of this is we do actually have to open the side of the winch to actually upgrade the firmware. Oh yeah. I don't know if this PoE adapter is electrically isolated. It might be kind of handy to know that. Because if it isn't, I might battery power this just to avoid a giant ground loop. I don't know if a good way of testing this without actually just disconnecting this from circuit. So that'll be rebooting my Pi, but that's fine. I would think that to be 802.3 AF or whatever compliant, it would have to be isolated. But, you know, it's good to check. The reason I care is otherwise when I plug it into the debug port, I don't know what kind of current could start flowing along the ground in that USB lead. It would kind of depend on like whatever else is going on electrically in the shop. And I mean, I think the switch end has to be isolated too, so anyway, I think we're fine. I'm not getting any conductivity at all. Like my meter is, like this is not a Megger, I could take it to a higher voltage meter, but I think without risking damaging any of these things, I think this looks like it's pretty isolated. So let's resume that experiment. Oh gosh, no, I'm not measuring Tuco's resistance. I think Tuco's resistance is just fine. I don't need to confirm its value. He seems comfortable. I'll let that Raspberry reboot while I take the cover off my winch. I did design it at least so you only have to remove like one of the panels. You don't have to remove anything severe. There's like some dirt blown in from outside on this winch. the one right next to the window. There are two USB ports. I think it's the USB port on the front. This is also the wrong wrench. It's the other green wrench. Oh yeah. I think it's necessary to turn the winch off for this. I mean, it needs to be powered to do the firmware update anyway. Oh right, the lights are connected. Oh, there's a dead fly over here. I was just going to take this whole side panel with me to avoid having to take the screws out, but because the lights are still powered and connected, I'm going to take the screws out and leave the side panel. I guess I could put tape over the screws and then leave the screws. Alright. Alright. Sadiq asks if Tuco's decided this is his desk. Yeah, Tuco pretty much decides that anywhere I am is where he wants to be also these days. I mean, not all the time, like he spends some time separately also, but he quite frequently just wants to be near wherever I'm working, which is kind of nice. Sometimes it means he's super in the way, but I like it. Which USB port did I want? Yeah, there's two USB ports on here. One of them is connected directly to the microcontroller. The other one is connected to the debug interface. I want the debug interface. And that's on the front. So the Raspberry is plugged in there. I realize I've been narrating this whole thing due to Tuco being cute and not having the other camera set up. Let me give you at least a brief look at how this is set up. Alright, so right now that winch is running the old firmware. Nobody should be able to command it, really. I mean, they could, but they aren't going to be speaking the right protocol anymore. Let's turn on the little DSLR here. I like having a Raspberry Pi on power over Ethernet. There's something nice about that. Anyway, so LX4, LM4, that's right, LM4 flash. I don't think we need to give this thing any special options. Each winch already has some configuration in EEPROM, but this will leave that alone. That's the right device, that Luminary Micro. I think this just wants root access. Alright. Let's see if that worked. I think we can view the winch from here. Oh, I really should set up a host name. I guess I have color bursts. /.:8080/. Oh gosh, no, I did not. All that work and you still searched for it. There. :8080. Yeah, I guess I could run a reverse proxy for this at some point. Actually, this is running on Windows. Does Windows even care if you run on port 80? I might just run on port 80. Who knows? Oh yeah, a PoE Raspberry with a lithium-ion battery would be especially handy. That would be nice. Yeah, and Funky Squid on Twitch adds that they were drooling over the new PoE shield. Yeah, I should try out one of those official ones. As nice as the dongle situation is over here, yeah, having something compact does seem nice. Oh look, it's winch. So the new status packets are coming in. So with only one winch online, we should not be able to access it or it shouldn't be able to switch modes into normal mode. But if we go into manual mode, I think we can drive just that winch. So this is the mode. Right. So normally this would change if I push these buttons. I don't know if I talk that much about the controller. I'm always like tapping at buttons on here, but I don't talk that much about the mapping. So it's got sort of a safety feature where to do any robot movement, you have to hold down one or both of these clicky bumpers. So you'll see me holding those a lot. That's like a dead man switch. I can just let go and the robot stops. Then there's a mode switch with these buttons. So red is halt, green is normal, but it won't let me switch into normal mode because it's lost communication with the winches. There would be an error message on the console if you saw the console right now, but... And then, yeah, similar thing with... So green is like normal mode, blue is manual but 3D motion, which it also won't let me do without all the winches because it can't do 3D motion without all the winches. And then yellow up here is manual for a single winch, so that's what we want. So you notice the gimbal just perked up because it actually went into normal operation mode because previously we were stuck in halt. But now we're in manual winch 0 mode. I can toggle to other winches here. So 0 is the one we just upgraded. So now I think I want this control. If I use the left control, I can move this up and down. And I'll hit the monitor I have over there. That's nice and quiet and smooth. I mean, so we didn't really change any parameters. We just added support for a new type of hysteresis. To make this actually have any effect, we'll need to make that parameter something that is not 0. And so I'll add something to the web interface so we can tune the parameters in real time. But I think the next step is to upgrade the rest of the winches, probably. Actually, I guess we should test it, right? If we upgrade all the winches and then we discover the firmware sucks, then we'll just have to upgrade them all again. I'm not running the Tuco Flyer on Linux though, so that's not helpful. It's running on Windows. If you know about port permissions in Windows, that helps. Alright. So yeah, let's actually test this then. I think we just want to switch back to Windows. By the way, while we're here, let's check the graphs. Server backups. I've been working on these backups a lot lately. I'm trying to switch from one backup system to a different backup system, which I'm hoping will save me some money long term. But it means that right now I'm gonna like re-upload everything in a different format. And yeah, I've been trying to tweak the performance. And then the PeerTube server is, as always, busy transcoding video. I added this chart so we can actually watch how many jobs are waiting in its job queue. Actually, I wasn't expecting this to be going down. Huh. Because actually when it imports a video, it processes one video file, and then that causes several other video files to enter the transcode queue as it generates more additional resolutions. So it might just be at a point in the transcode queue where, where it's processing kind of final videos rather than the initial import that generates resolutions. That's interesting. Let's have to keep an eye. As you can see, I just added that metric. That is behind Diode Zone, which is the PeerTube server running here. Looks like we just finished a transcode. This takes a little time to start, even on a fast connection when the video is long, because it's like loading this entire index for the whole video. But yeah, I've been working on mirroring all my stuff over here on Diode Zone, and then I want to open it up for other similar and vaguely related kinds of content, and generally just try to make it a nice place for kind of creative content that's maybe, a nicer place to hang out than YouTube is all the time. Yeah, maybe I could already just change this to run on port 80 and Windows wouldn't care. We could try that. Oh, where did I put my mouse? Oh, sometimes this KVM switch interacts badly with the computers that are trying to sleep. Sometimes it'll wake them up and then they'll go back to sleep, and then they'll wake up and then they'll switch the KVM switch on account of waking up. So yeah, I've got a separate port here for the WebSocket, but I think I could just change this to port 80 and we'd be fine. I don't think anybody relies on what actual port number this is. Yep. Can I also change the host name? If I change this, now that I actually have a host name, that wants to be an IP address, okay. Is a host name close enough? No, okay. I guess I use something else to build the URLs. It might be nice to have separate control over the URL so that even if I'm binding to this address, oh gosh. Oh, why is this suddenly a problem? Oh, because the gimbal controller is not running. Okay. Yes. It would be nice if I had a way of automatically powering off the gimbal motors when the controller is not running, because sometimes the controller is useful. Okay. I think the next step is adding UI for that hysteresis configuration, and then we can see if it actually does what we expect, and then upgrade the rest of the winches, then we can go back into multiple winch mode. So deadband, hysteresis. I don't think we need to add any code for this actually, we just need to add some client JavaScript. I mean, not like Rust code, we just need to add some code, some like UI code, I mean. Because yeah, most of this is like all data driven. So yeah, I guess this doesn't require like it's the division between code and data is completely fabricated. Like there is no real division there. But insofar as that is even a real thing, this is something I can change in the JSX, which is it turns into JavaScript, but it feels more like data. So where did I want to put that? Winch. My winch. Yeah, the winch stuff needs reorganization somewhat. Yeah, I put this in the PID control right next to the position error and next to the velocity. Do I have a chart for this velocity? I was trying to put this next to the graph that actually shows you the thing you're trying to edit. There isn't really that with velocity here. I might have to add that to make it useful. I think all these ranges might need adjustment. Oh, right, and there were a couple of different build processes I had for this web front end. If I run the cargo build, I think that'll also trigger an npm build, or I could do the npm build separately, either as like a development server or just standalone. Let's just do a standalone build right now. We might do the development server later. Hey. Hey, sweet boy. Optimize production build. That's exactly what we need. Let's optimize that production. Maybe we should do development server. So the development server runs on a different HTTP port, and then it uses, some like hard-coded debug garbage to get the WebSocket port. Will that actually work? Yeah, so it'll just default to 8081 if it doesn't seem to be running on the real server. This machine is so overloaded. I haven't been worrying about it too much because usually I'm not using this to run the stream, do development, and run the robot, but like, if I'm going to be streaming about this a lot, then this will be kind of a common circumstance. Anyway, did that go into the same directory here? Okay. I'm not currently logged in. Okay. Let's try to test these one at a time. So I think I want to put this in manual winch mode. So I can just move this up and down. The gimbal's gonna keep doing its thing. Okay, so that was the deadband right there. You can see, like, for a while, it kind of, so the gray line is the input position error before the deadband and before the filtering. So it kind of sticks, so the blue one kind of sticks to 0, whereas the gray one kind of moves immediately. See that? So that effect would be more pronounced if I turned this one up. Now you can see it oscillating a lot more. That's oscillating into the deadband, that's oscillating out of the deadband. It doesn't go all the way up because it's also being filtered, but the filtering is still pretty bad, like when it's filtering such a noisy input. Yeah, okay, so let's try turning up the hysteresis. Slow movement is nice when it's not oscillating. It's not perfect, like I can still get it to oscillate a little bit. I think I might turn those numbers up a little more. The ranges. Let's actually use a development server. What did I call that? I want a chart for this velocity. Gotta allow Windows Firewall to Gotta. Oh. Yeah. I was messing with Windows firewall rules earlier today, trying to unbreak my overhead camera, and of course it turned out to be the other firewall, not the local firewall. This is really connected. Like, I think the velocity, if that's right next to this, I should be able to see that chart while I'm adjusting these parameters. Just move this down then. This is in meters. It should be at least, so let's make that somewhat big to begin with. Alright, reload in. We need the login key from this URL. Oh, we don't actually have a chart for velocity, just velocity error. Okay, let's add that, because that's actually useful for tuning. I can put this back in PID order. Oh, Tuco. His hair all standing up on his back like he's having an intense dream. I think we want this same instantaneous velocity chart. I'm getting overexposed again. Let's fix that. Oh, this computer is a little overloaded. Sorry. Yeah, okay, it's on auto exposure, which it always gets wrong at night. That's better. Okay. So this instantaneous velocity feedback should be the number that it's using for this deadband reference. And then this deadband reference should correspond to this position error. Why are we seeing so much oscillation still? Oh. Yeah, okay, I think that just needs to be larger to account for the noise in that position reading. It feels much better though, at least on one winch. Let me get that thing off the screen. Actually, I guess the picture-in-picture is kind of helpful, but I can at least move that so you can see the new data on the graph. That's pretty good. Okay, now what about the velocity? Because that's still pretty low. Maybe I want to set it to like 0.1. Oh wow, that's pretty much larger than the current range I had. Yeah, I like this. I think we should put this firmware on the other 3 winches. Seems like an improvement. That's the problem. I'm trying to move it very slowly and continuously. So you can see it just kind of takes a jump and then backs off. So that's probably too much. Probably something in these parameters that you can use. Like, you could think of this tuning process as maybe figuring out how slow you want it to be able to move continuously. That's the problem with hysteresis. So the stick here is basically mapping to the rate that gray line moves out up here. So if I don't move the stick at all, the gray line is horizontal. If I hold the stick at a constant place, then the gray line moves up at a constant rate. And then it catches the blue line as I pass the edge of the deadband, and then the winch catches up, and the process repeats. I keep bumping this monitor over here. This is nicer. I feel like every stream is going to have a comment on multiple chat platforms about how I'm not monitoring chat on all the platforms. Actually, I am. I just sometimes don't check it every single second. Sorry. I'm also wondering, like, if I could... I guess I haven't decided what I want the normal operation mode of that velocity component to be. So, like, if I'm just trying to move smoothly like this, I'm wondering if maybe that velocity hysteresis is not even a good idea. Ooh. It is attached to my mic stand. It'd be cool if I could control the other winches as well as this one. Yeah. Alright, well we could spend all day tuning parameters, and I should really explain more of these parameters because I know I'm just like rambling about stuff right now. I'm just trying to see if this firmware is working to my satisfaction. I think it is. I'm not totally convinced that we need both of these features where it has a deadband based on velocity and based on position. I don't know if the velocity deadband is going to be useful. But let's update the other winches. Alright, so that's ready. I'm gonna have to, I guess, just put this one back together and then do the same thing on each of the other three. I'll try to give you a better view this time. So yeah, this is the one we were just working on. I wonder if the LED strip is having trouble. Right? It looks like some of the LEDs might be stuck the wrong color. Or is that my imagination? I'm just gonna be seeing problems everywhere. Oh yeah. It kind of looks like the top 4 or 5 LEDs are not updating. I wonder if this is a temporary problem. Because I had an LED problem on the Flyer that was similar. Like, it could be some kind of signal integrity plus heat issue. I don't know. Let's try just rebooting this one. Actually, I've got a script for that. Actually, I have a script that turns everything off. I should make one that turns everything except the Flyer off. What is the IP address of the outlet the Flyer is plugged into? Okay. I'm going to turn those back on. Oh yeah, the LEDs seem to respond now. Huh. Why aren't we moving? That's weird. It's acting like the force sensor is reporting a weird value. So that's normal mode. And then I try to move it and it goes into this weird halt condition. I feel like this is maybe a software bug. What is going on? I don't think it's the force sensor. I think it's doing this for some other reason. Oh, here it is. Oh, and now it's working again, but the LEDs seem to be only partially updating. That is really odd. The LED problem... I can't actually tell if there's a problem. It might just be the color scheme in this mode is super weird, but it looks like a few of the LEDs are not updating. It might just be like a coordinate system issue with the LED animation, honestly, and not a hardware problem. I have the hardware open, so I'm like primed to look for hardware problems everywhere, but I think the hardware might be alright. Let's move on. I think I can unplug the debug interface and just close this one up. So, yeah, giving you a better view is slightly more complicated than just pointing the DSLR at it, but I'll see what I can do. I wanted that screw. Okay, the screw, I'll find this screw eventually, but it might be lost for a little while. I think I have more though. Yes. I do have more of these. Stainless M3x8. Oh, here's the screw, of course. Of course. I don't know if you can see much of this. So this just goes back together like most kind of two-piece plastic things do. Has ridges along the edges that provide some alignment and keep the sides from kind of flexing past each other. And then it's all held together with pressure from these screws on the side. The case doesn't really have to be load-bearing, but it keeps the cat out of the works. Tuco's sometimes interested in what goes on in here. Some cats have been more interested in it than Tuco. Okay. That's done. 3 more to go. We can just make sure this is happy. Yeah, the two sides look the same. I think it's just the software is mapping the colors kind of weirdly right now. But yeah, that's how it's supposed to work, mostly. Alright, can I show you the next winch? which one should I do next? I guess we could do them in order. This is winch 0, and winch 1 back there. That one requires a ladder, so you can watch me break my face. Alright, yeah, ladder. And a wrench. Maybe some light. It's getting a little dark here. Oh, that totally messes with the picture, doesn't it? Maybe we just need more lights. That doesn't help much. Oh, this isn't the one I need the ladder for. Actually, I can reach this one without the ladder. The next one will need the ladder, though. I'll keep this handy. Oh, this long cable and power over Ethernet is so nice. I should have done this a long time ago. The long cable would be more annoying if it wasn't this thin stuff from Monoprice. I got a spool of it to make the Tuco Flyer leash. It's regular Cat 5, but somehow it was made with like 28 gauge wire. Flash in the firmware. Oh gosh, you're saying you wish it was this clean. You're just not seeing the mess. There's a huge mess. That's interesting. Why are we going into flashing mode? You know what? I bet that has something to do with the HX711 load sensor chip that I'm using not resetting properly after the firmware upgrade. My theory is I'm going to unplug that and hard reset it and it'll work, but if not, we'll do some more debugging. So let's take the debug port off. Let's power cycle it. Here's a button for that. Some offness, some onitude. Oh! No, that's a real error. That is actually that slack. Yeah, that's just because we were driving the other winch around in manual mode, and this one is slack. So it is working properly, I think. If I hadn't left the remote control on the other side of the room, I could try driving this, but I'm just going to put the screws back in, because I think this is working. We did not change the protocol for the packet that the lights use, so the lights working is not necessarily a sign that anything's okay, but the force sensor seems fine, which does mean that it's getting the new packet that we changed. Trickiest part about putting the cover on is getting all the wires to hang out where they're supposed to. There we go. But, oh man, the click together case is really satisfying. That took some CAD and some 3D printing trial and error, but it was nice. Yeah, this is all 3D printed, and it requires a lot of printer time to make. I could have a version of this that requires less 3D printing. In fact, you can make this without the outer shell. The outer shell is totally optional, but it's not really cat-proof at all without the outer shell. And you have to tell your visitors not to stick their fingers in it. Probably okay for a hackerspace, but here I would have curious cats getting into trouble. These winches would be interesting at a hackerspace, right? Kind of seems like a hackerspace friendly project if you have a big 3D printer. Okay, so that one seems fine. Now for the one with the ladder. Tuco's still sitting on the desk, just looking. I guess the camera went into wobble mode and lost him. I'll fix that. Can we try driving that one? Oop. He's taking up the tension on the other winch. What? What is up with that load sensor? So it selects all right, and then it goes into flashing mode after I actually try to move it. The force feedback is working. Like, I'm getting a good graph from that. I think this problem is elsewhere. I guess it could be acting like the position sensor is not working. No, position sensor is working. All the sensors are good. Oh, do I want to debug this now or just load the rest of the firmwares? Gotta remind myself exactly what this error condition could mean. Also, there's Tuco here. Oh, lick, lick, lick. Tuco, I'm surprised you're in such a good mood after I made you go to the vet this morning. Jeez. Oh, yeah. Yeah, for anybody who hasn't seen this project, it's called Tuco Flyer, and I've been working on it for a while now. You can see some of the edited videos that showed like the bulk of the progress if you go to either YouTube or the new site diode.zone, and you can see some of the edited videos I've got, or my my usual video blog scanlime.org. And then there's also a lot of live streams with all of this process that goes on behind it. Okay, so, oh man, there's so many layers of software problems. So of course I can't drive it around in automatic mode or normal or manual flyer mode. I've got to have it in manual winch mode, even to control the gimbal. And I can move winch 0 up and down. I wonder if this is a software problem related to moving other winches in manual mode? Where's Tuco? Because if it is a problem with manual mode specifically, look at that mess. How is this a clean shop? It's like messier than usual even. So it might be a bug with manual mode itself, in which case I should just finish the upgrade. Let's just finish the upgrade. I don't really have a great option otherwise. I don't 100% know that this firmware is good, but I think it is. Brand new fire extinguisher mount. I've had that fire extinguisher for a while now, but I finally actually put it on the wall properly. I've got a couple of dry chemical extinguishers around here, but that's my CO2 extinguisher. It's the nice one. Kind of a nice view. Let's try that. We'll need to bring the ladder. Hi. I don't really have a good place to put the side panel when I take it down. I might just have to turn off this winch and unplug the side panel. I don't really want to hot unplug it. Oh, this ladder has a handy spot for screws. I left my phone up there once, and then I put this ladder away, and that was how I broke my phone. Come on. I hate it when the screw is like stuck in the hole but is not actually still holding on. Yeah, so I'm actually gonna turn off the power to this so that I can just unplug the side whenever I want. I could also just take this whole thing off the wall. That is an option. That's not even that bad of an option, actually. Is that better than what I'm doing now? Potentially. I need power to do the upgrade, though. I don't know. Do I want to do the upgrade on a ladder? Do I not want to do the upgrade on a ladder? Okay, there's still one screw in there. Okay. There's that. Raspberry on a ladder. I don't actually like ladders. Right. It's plugged in. I can just turn the power on and we should be able to do the upgrade. Is that just me or did the lights flicker when I turn the power on? Good old inrush current. Up arrow, enter. This doesn't really do anything when it's flashing other than doing the flashing. Like it has a version number. It says it found the device. That's about all we get. Doesn't usually take this long. Let's try rebooting the device. Or maybe just replugging the USB. It's not getting as far right, like it's not printing the version number this time. Let's reset the actual thing. I guess I could do that with a shell script. It's slightly easier to walk over here and press the button right now. There's this little warm zone right here where both a freezer and some computers pump out their warm air. Just like waiting for Tuco to discover that and hang out there during the winter. That seemed to help. Yeah, okay. And now it's up with lights. And Tuco's right behind me. Same deal here. You know, I think this is probably a software bug that broke manual control mode for all the winches except for winch 0. I'm going to assume that at this point because this is giving me the same symptoms as the other winch. So if I reset, if I halt with the red button, it goes back into idle. This is me selecting winch 0, selecting winch 1, selecting winch 2, selecting offline winch 3, back to winch 0, etc. So that works. And then as soon as I try to drive it, it goes into that mode. Usually this means the force sensor's out of range, but I think there might be other air conditions I mapped to this animation also. I think it might be something else going wrong, because the firmware seems to be fine. It might also be that the firmware is fine as far as force limits, but then the Rust bot controller is actually making some kind of false positive as far as those limits. So I think that's fine. Let's put that back together, and then the next winch is easy. It's within reach. Gotta turn it off again to plug the LEDs back on though. Hey, Tuke. Ladder-based firmware upgrades. A good reason not to upgrade the firmware much, right? I mean, I thought about, you know, of course having a Ethernet bootloader for these things. Part of it is laziness, like I've already got a way to load firmware on here. I don't really need an Ethernet bootloader. But part of it is it actually seems like a slight advantage to not be able to upgrade the firmware over the network. Less convenient, but more secure. Like, you could certainly just like tell the motors to run remotely, but there are a couple of safeguards in the firmware that you can't override with just UDP packets. I really like how these side panels fit on. And then on the back there's Ethernet on one side and power on the other side. And then in the center there's a big bolt that just acts as kind of a pivot mount and tightens down into a wall bracket. So there's like a thumb screw up here that tightens it onto the wall bracket, and then the wall bracket bolts onto a stud, or screws into a stud. Alright, that's done. One more. I've been putting this part off for a little while, so it's good to do it. Let's see if I can get this on the camera. Over the ladder updates, yeah. Oh yeah, this is the one that's kind of hard to see. We were having trouble with this winch actually, and I kept not having a good view of it a while ago. And I would normally use the Tuco Flyer, but it's actually kind of hard to drive it over there right now on account of the manual mode. Let's just take that view for the moment. It's not great, but it's what we got. Yeah, this and the winch right next to my desk are pretty easy to get to. I might move this one though, because it turns out this is actually a great spot for sunlight, which is maybe better for plants than electronics. Like so far, this doesn't seem to be getting overheated or anything, but it might be good to put some like succulents or something over here. Some that like sun. I was taking the screws out. Oh, I'm dropping one. Oh, one more screw. This one doesn't have an amazing amount of clearance on the side either. There we go. All right. Side panel open. Kinda precariously. Let's retrieve the mobile raspberry. And delicately attach the mobile raspberry by its USB tail. I can put away the ladder too. Alright, one more pseudo LM4 flash. Raspberry Pi with USB garnish, yeah. Alright, well, I think that was it. We might be able to see this thing just run in manual mode. Or sorry, not in manual mode. What do I call the normal mode here? Is it just normal mode? Oh, this KVM switch. Normal and manual flyer both should work. Oh. Oh, interesting. I was just seeing that same bug in, what was it, in manual flyer mode, but then in normal mode it seemed fine. So yeah, I think we just stumbled on an unrelated software problem. I think we're good though. Oh yeah, let's bonk the microphone. Cool. It's just me being confused about coordinate systems. Seems good. And like it's like hard to completely tell if that hysteresis is doing its thing, but like all indications so far is that things are all right. Let's put the cover back on. This cover is very precariously dangling too. It's not the best situation for running the winch. Hey, Tuco. Sorry. Oh, this is a great spot. I'm sorry it's so hard to get on camera. Maybe now that I can drive the robot, though, I can bring it over here. Car alarm. Oh. Oh, you know, I bet this is a new bug, actually. I'm hitting it in normal mode. You know, I wonder if I set that deadband so large that I'm causing it to, because like I forget, I'll have to refresh my memory on what other ways I might be getting into that mode. But I think maybe it's doing something where, because the winch is not moving for a certain amount of time while it's getting a command at some stage in the system, it detects a problem. I don't know, it could be force related. I'm having trouble moving winches 1 and 3 right now with that same problem, like the winch goes into that flashy red mode when it seems to otherwise be fine. This doesn't seem to be related to the actual force sensor values. Oh, Tuco's over here, and I just want to use the camera, but I have to debug it now. It's just weird that I'm getting the same error on 2 of the winches. I think the reason it's those 2 winches is that right now, just the way the robot's positioned, those 2 are the most slack. Alright. I just want to pet my cat, but I guess we could debug this software problem. Oh, he's so sweet. Let's bring the raspberry. Tuco's standing on my Ethernet cable. Yeah, well, so some debugging then. This is happening in manual mode too. At least the camera's got a good view of winch 3 for whatever good that does us. You can't quite see what color it is clearly because the camera's exposure is set in kind of low light mode. At least we can move the gimbal under computer control now. Okay, so what is going on, first of all? Just like, what is even happening? So the symptom that we're seeing is that the winch is flashing. Oh, Tuco wants attention. That's right, so I have this separate module for doing the LED animations. I think there's a lighting environment that gets passed to that. Is that the mech status? Right, okay, so red, just regular red, would come about via any mech status other than normal, but the flashing only happens when mech status equals stuck. So why does it think we're stuck? I think I know why it thinks we're stuck. I think it's the overactive hysteresis. Not even the hysteresis, like the hysteresis is not even part of this. I think just increasing the dead zone as much as I did was part of the problem. Let's test that theory first. Oh, no. I don't even think that's the right key. 3. Where's the camera? I was trying to do something on the ground. And now it's back at home position. For a sec there, I was moving it in manual mode and it changed this position error, and then it stopped. Yeah, so it's in flashing mode now. So switching some modes, it's no longer flashing. So I think I had to manually reset it by switching into halted and then back to manual winch 3. So my theory is that I'll be able to control it very briefly and then it'll go back into mech status stuck. Yeah. Okay, we need to adjust the criteria for mech status stuck because that is not taking into account the dead zone and the timing. Oh, geez, autofocus. So can we work around it by turning this significantly down? Yes, totally. Cool, well it's a new bug at least. That's nice. It's just an interaction between an existing feature and this new change, but yeah. Can we still drive in normal mode? It would be great to have height control on this robot. But yeah, things are normally working there. That is diode zone right there. But yeah, that seems all right. So, I mean, I think that's basically the milestone I was hoping to get to here. We've got the firmware updated. There's a new bug now, which I'll need to figure out. But, yeah. Maybe this is a good time to wrap it up for tonight, and then I can try to pick this up as soon as I can, like maybe tomorrow afternoon or Thursday. And certainly, like, let me know. I'm always kind of unsure, like, how to prioritize different kinds of work. So, especially when it comes to if you think the streaming is most useful, if you think edited stuff is most useful, if you just like having a place to hang out, if you like kind of the more scripted, like specific content, you know, it's useful to know what people really like so that I can try to prioritize stuff. But yeah, otherwise, I've just lately been doing a bunch of the, oh, weird. Sorry, I've never seen this before. I've got this USB power monitor, and it's showing an error message that I've never seen. And maybe we could just investigate stuff like this, who knows? You've probably seen these before, right? P? What does that mean? Does that go away if I reset it? Oh, it found Tuco. Yeah. Oh, I've got tape around here just so I don't pull it out by accident all the time. Yeah, that's weird. I wonder if that was the bootloader. Like, well, maybe P is for program? I don't know. Anyway. many things we can investigate, including strange rabbit holes like that. But yeah, and I think we got the firmware update. I'll make sure that that's all checked into Git. But yeah, it looks like we might have some new bugs to look into, as well as some old ones. Things seem all right. And as for the servers, Diode Zone continues to run, and transcode video. It's got a big backlog, but I'll let folks know when that's going to be open for registration soon. So. Cool. Michael says the shorter edited streams are nice for a clear understanding, whereas the streams are fun to watch. Yeah, I think a lot of people might agree with that. Certainly, let me know what you think. But yeah, that's something where I find myself occasionally wanting to really get to an interesting milestone or to tell a really kind of cohesive story, and then I really like having something edited, but then sometimes it just feels like I don't really have anything good to edit. There's just a bunch of footage here and I don't really know how to turn it into a good story. And then maybe some of those have a story, maybe some of them the story is just that we hung out for a while and built something. So I don't know, I need to work on that and try to find some interesting narratives for some of these things. But yeah, thanks for showing up. Sorry if I missed saying hi like right when you came in. Sometimes I'm not always checking all the chat 100% of the time, but I do try to keep up on all the different platforms that we have going here. And if you've been using live.diode.zone, let me know if that's working out or if it doesn't work out. Those links have been going out on the announcement bot along with the other links. So yeah, we'll do some more roboting. I'll see you all in the next stream. And thanks so much to all my patrons, all the fans who just chip in a few bucks a month. Help me keep this going and help me spend time making content that hopefully you folks find interesting, rather than just, code that clients are going to bury. So it's always nice to have that option, and I want to make sure that you're all getting the most out of this experience. So thanks again, and I'll give Tuco some pets. But until next time, happy hacking, everyone.